All right. Thanks, guys, for joining. Um, who are you, man in the corner?
My name is Emmanuel Sivanda. I am one of the co-founders of the Gradient Boost. The Gradient Boost is an online mentor guided data science school for learners across the African continent. We currently offer an introduction to data science, a 4-month introduction to data science program that is mentor guided. By that, I mean that when you sign up, you have the support of mentors who work as data scientists across the African continent, mostly Nigeria and South Africa, in the form of 2 tutorials. So the learners have 2 weekly tutorials. Obviously, it's every week because it's weekly. And the tutorials are a chance for the mentors to explain things in the curriculum to the learners in a more practical way using real-world examples, and to just give the learners a bigger, I guess, like a bigger picture view of how the things they're learning ties into the actual work environment. On weekends, our learners also have workshops, which is a combination of supplementing existing learning content. So for example, if we're going to the Python module, we would have workshops where we walk learners through a set of programming challenges to kind of solve the challenges with the learners in the workshop, and kind of help apply the skills they're learning like through our curriculum, like in the workshops. We also have workshops where we bring in experts who are unnecessarily like data scientists per se, to introduce tools and skills that are not part of the core curriculum, but are valuable for people who want to get into that space to learn. So things like web scraping, things like visualizing data using Tableau, and all that kind of stuff. That's where we are currently. That is, there's obviously a broader vision going beyond that.
Okay, I definitely want to get more into that. But hey, you lady over there.
Hey, Jasmine. Hi, guys. My name is Vivian, currently based in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm also a co-founder at Gradient Boost. And prior to joining Gradient Boost, I have working experience in the software development field. And I also am a co-founder for another venture. It's in the agri-tech space. It's also based in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm excited about the Gradient Boost, and how I ended up joining the Gradient Boost is Emmanuel reached out to me on LinkedIn, and we had a conversation, and straight on, I loved the idea. The reason why I love the idea of Gradient Boost is I can relate, right? So just as I was leaving my software development bootcamp, I was thinking, okay, what next in terms of like upskilling, and data science came to mind, right? So I was looking up courses, but immediately I couldn't join any program because of the costs. Thus, I just put it in the back burner. Although I am currently enrolled in African Leadership University, undertaking postgraduate in data science, I still would have done this earlier if I had the funds. And that's why I resonated with the idea of Reading Boost, because it's affordable and it's tailored for the African market. And yeah, there's also a lot of support in the program. So that's me.
Okay, so I'm Jasmine De Valliere, one of the co-founders of the Gradient Boost as well. I found the Gradient Boost through Emmanuel. Emmanuel had this idea, and we previously founded a venture together along with one other co-founder, and it kind of spun out from there. Previous to this, I've worked in a coding boot camp here in New York, where we focused on low-income students. So students who are earning under $40,000 a year, which are, who are trying to change their careers. And we saw people double their incomes after leaving the program. And one thing I really liked about that program is that we provided so much support in terms of making sure that students were good, obviously on the coding side, but that they were better people coming out on the other side. And, unfortunately, not every program can really be successful in when they have such a large goal, but I'm hoping to be able to do it right with the Gradient Boost. So,
Awesome.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I have like a question like for Vivian. So I think we both have like experience going through a boot camp. So I went through a boot camp called Springboard for Data Science Career Track last year. And I just wanted to get your perspective. I think you went through like Moringa, if I'm not mistaken. Like, how did you find your experience with a coding boot camp, and how would you compare that to the self-learning process? Like, what's the contrast?
Oh, that's a very good idea. So prior to joining Moringa School, that's the boot camp I went through for my software development program. I was trying to learn by myself. Like I had joined a couple of online platforms where they offered software development programs, but for me, I was finding it a bit difficult, especially when, with coding, there comes a point you get stuck, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're starting out, maybe you're missing a semicolon. Everyone gives this example. It's true. So yeah, you get stuck and you have no one to ask, right? So the community around a bootcamp not being there was a bit, it was strenuous. Number one, and number two, there's also that thing whereby you learn more by teaching. So when maybe you're in a bootcamp and you are explaining to other learners like you, you're also learning in the process. So in comparison, I would say I enjoyed being in a bootcamp. I enjoyed learning alongside my peers who were doing paired programming, whereby you would learn in pairs. That also brought about other skills that I don't think you can get if you were just doing self-learning, skills like soft skills. So I would say, yeah, I enjoyed the bootcamp. What of you? Let me ask you that question.
I kind of want to echo your sentiments too. I think I like the idea of like a self-driven learning or just self-driven anything in general because it's just very empowering to do things on your own. But realistically, I think that a lot of people don't have the discipline to, and it comes with a lack of accountability. If you're learning on your own with no like set targets every single week or every single month, it's very hard to stay consistent and work towards that goal every single day. It's very, very difficult. Some people can do it, great for them, amazing. But the majority of people, I'd argue, struggle with that a lot. So I think for me, like the self-learning part, again, it was very, very empowering, very, very fun. But my biggest flaw is that it's very easy for me to get stuck on like one topic and like getting to this rabbit hole of delving deep into the topic, which might not be relevant in the bigger frame of things. It's kind of like how I go about learning on my own. It's a bit self-defeating. And also there's this like this, like this lack of like I guess confidence in your knowledge. You're not really sure where exactly you stand. Like sure you can do some stuff, but you're like, okay, I did this on my own. Like, am I actually like able to teach myself this stuff? Like you doubt yourself a lot in the journey on your own. And I found that like with the bootcamp, I didn't have a community per se, so I'd actually go out there and like create a Slack group with other people in the data science program to create our own like mini community. And it wasn't really that engaged. But what I found valuable was the mentorship. So I had access to a mentor who, or rather mentors, because it was two mentors actually, because one changed. And the level of guidance they were able to give me when building my projects was very motivating. And that for me was the biggest driver actually. It's things like someone telling you that, hey, you can do X, Y, Z, it's doable, it's possible. Just like holding your hand, like not necessarily giving you the answers, but just holding your hand and making you like see that what is possible, and giving you the space to fail and not like feel like a failure. Basically, that for me was the most important part of my bootcamp experience, and that's why for me it was important to replicate that and maybe go beyond and offer a community that offers the same support to our learners, to other people in our home, in our continent. And to do it in a way that is affordable, because my bootcamp was pretty pricey, and it'd be great to make that clearly very advantageous learning experience affordable to other people who have the same goals or similar goals.
Nice.
And Jasmine, I know that you worked in a coding bootcamp in New York, like you said. Do you mind like walking us through like I guess like how you found that helpful for the learners who came through the bootcamp, and like what do you see as the value of coding bootcamps in general, I suppose?
So people came to that particular boot camp because either they were turned away by other boot camps, they couldn't afford other boot camps, or they were specifically looking for a sense of community in their learning experience. And that is something that, I say that the boot camp really did push to create, meaning that outside of the time that they were in, the classroom, in lectures, stuff like that, we were always trying to make sure that they had opportunities to feel a sense of belonging in the industry. So the issue is that, the New York tech space, kind of looks one way, but New York City looks completely different. New York City is an incredibly diverse place, but the tech industry was not. So, which made no sense. So that was kind of their mission, diversify the tech industry. And with that, we understood that some of our students would have problems coming in to their jobs. So, for example, making sure that they had a support network before they went into their jobs, meaning that whether it's having a group for women, a group for LGBTQ students, a group for people who are interested in gaming, like little things like that, so that another thing that's cool about that is that when you have peers to learn with who also, become your friends, who understand you, understand your learning style, we started to see people improve. We started to see people who were previously disengaged suddenly re-engage, especially the interest-based groups that we had for them. Once sure you're learning how to code, but now it's like, wait, I can use this for this thing that I really love too. Like that like clicks something in some, for some people in their heads. But also another thing that we did was we made sure that everyone had what they needed to be able to actually focus in the program. So we had a lot of students who were on government assistance, meaning that they needed government assistance for things like housing and food. So making sure that if our students weren't already aware of the government assistance that they can get, making sure we got them signed up, so that they had take the worries off their plate, so that they can focus on making this change in their lives. I think one places where that program went wrong is that they had very good intentions, but unfortunately, as things scaled, I think leadership started to get a little bit too distant from the mission. They had a huge advantage in that their mission is like on point. And a lot of tech companies we had coming in the door. We had Twitter coming in, we had Facebook coming in, we had Google coming in to work with our students. And that's all amazing. But at the end of the day, if you can't really serve the population in the correct way that you originally set out to do, it's just not going to work. Students were starting to get a little bit restless, understanding that leadership wasn't really focusing on the same mission that they said when they first came in the door, things like that. And I think that's something that that can easily happen. But that's something that I'm hoping that that's a trap that I hope we don't fall into at the Gradient Boost, especially when we want to do things like, we're saying this from the beginning, we're saying things like we want our learners to have access to co-working spaces where they can go so that they can have uninterrupted power, uninterrupted Wi-Fi, partnering with maybe even restaurants or anyone who can, provide food. If you're not wondering like, oh, I have to go home, I have to feed, my kids, things like that, that's one less thing off your plate, one, few more hours you can dedicate to learning and making that change.
Cool. I think it's a good part to ask the question. Like, we've seen the bigger picture of what's happening in the broader like coding bootcamp, I guess, like a space, but like narrowing it down to the Gradient Boost. Like starting off with Vivian, like, how have you found? I guess, like, first of all, like what is your role? Obviously, like, just what do you do as a co-founder, and how have you found your experience in the last couple of weeks, I suppose, and your learning just on a personal level too.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Because yeah, I thought I was on mute. Sorry, Emmanuel, could you please come again? My laptop is acting up. I do hear your question.
I was saying, like, we've seen the bigger picture of the coding bootcamp ecosystem, and now just like narrowing it down to the actual, like, the Gradient Boost, like our vision, what we should discuss, like, actually at some point. What is your role as a co-founder, like, at the Gradient Boost, and how have you like found the last couple of weeks with the learners and just like experience in the actual platform itself and working with us, obviously, like, be candid as possible. And what have you learned as a person? Like, how have you grown as a person too?
So, first, my role at the Gradient Boost is I'm in charge of the program and the product itself, just iterating it and ensuring we're putting in the feedback we're getting from our students so that, yeah, eventually we just have like a near perfect product that actually serves what we entail to do, which is empower individuals to become great data scientists across the continent. And then number two, the past few weeks have been very nostalgic, I would have to say. And the reason for that is students with their questions and their feedback just remind me of my bootcamp days in so many ways. There are some students I'm just like, you with your question, I really am not worried about you, because I remember I was in the same exact spot. So, and the thing about being in a bootcamp or entering the tech world, especially in the space of coding, is you really think you're struggling, but once it starts coming together, then it just, yeah, everything works out. So it has really been exciting. Great memories are coming to mind. I enjoy listening to the feedback. I love the mentor sessions. Like I jump into the program to learn myself. I just get glued into it. The mentors are really great. And then working with the two of you, so far it has been great, right? And I'll explain. The reason why I feel it's great working with Emmanuel and Jasmine as co-founders is because you guys bring to the table what I don't think is my strong suit, right? So when it comes to marketing, sales, converting leads, I can do it, but I don't feel I'm as strong as you guys. So I'm enjoying working on what I am strong at. And then number two, and this is, I think, what I enjoy most, but at times I dread, the both of you challenge me. Not challenge me by your words, it's more of like the work you guys put in. It's like I can't sit for 1 second without getting like, okay, this is progress report. So I'm like, okay, you guys are doing all this much. There's no time to slack. So really, you guys challenge me and keep me on my toes, and I love it. Mm-hmm.
That's good to hear. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? I like this. I want to say what I like about working with you, Vivian and Emmanuel.
Nice.
I kind of agree. I think you both add. I think that's one thing I love about this team. I think we really cover each other's gaps pretty well. Vivian, I think you bring order. I think you bring order to our chaos. I think if it weren't for, I try to rein in Emmanuel's chaos, and he tries to like make me like flesh out my ideas. But then like between us two, we can just kind of speak our own weird language that doesn't make sense. But now we have to communicate this to other people. We have to say it. We have to develop ideas. And then plus you and these colorful spreadsheets that you're bringing to the table. Yeah, I feel like you're like kind of making us be more structured, which is something that is already paying off, that I think, in terms of our organization skills and being communicative, and not just like having an idea and then randomly like shouting it to the other person. Nah, we're gonna write it down. We're gonna like explain it. You're gonna ask us questions, like things like that. And then Emmanuel, I mean, we've worked together for I don't know how many years on businesses, and we are also married. And because of that, Vivian, you think that you got all these messages? Emmanuel is 5 o'clock in the morning. So about the grading boost. it could be like lunchtime. Oh, this is really good. So about the gradient boost. Midnight, wakes up in his sleep. About the gradient boost. So and like yeah, I mean, the passion that you have, the passion and drive that you have is like I've just never seen it before. I could tell that this really means a lot to you, and I can tell that you really have you feel an obligation, but you feel very strongly about providing these students the best experience possible. I think that any student that comes to our door should feel good knowing that you have no desire to let them down. And I think I like the way you think, short term, long term. You have great vision, but you're also able to turn vision into actionable tasks. And you've grown so much in this venture too. Like you said, oh, you didn't say on this call. On another call, you were talking about how you would have never done sales. Like you would have hated that, and like you're driving sales now. So I feel great about having you as the leader of this ship, and I feel good about this team overall.
I
Cool.
agree, Emmanuel.
I guess to answer the question, I think like I agree. Like it's just a few months ago, I could not have pictured myself actually like reaching out and calling people to try and like convince them to pay for a course or to join our course. That's like for me, it's like I'm a very introverted person. I keep to myself. I don't like being the person who's driving conversations or making like reaching out to people, whether it's LinkedIn or exposing myself or just that kind of stuff. But I think that for some reason the mission resonates with me in a very, very deep way. And I really want to just not only like I get that like I have limitations, I have many, many flaws as a person, and growing eventually requires me to grow myself too. So it's been a very interesting journey, like just in a personal perspective. And it's been fascinating because like the last couple of years, a lot of things have happened just in general in my life that shifted my perspective of many things. Some good, some really bad, but I mean, everything that happens shapes you in one way or another. And things that are supposed to break you, they can either break you, or they can make you more resilient and more able to understand that failure is like a temporary state, and it's a chance to reevaluate yourself and like grow. And it's a chance to be honest with yourself. Like it's a very hard thing to do, being honest with yourself and seeing your flaws, like seeing yourself for who you actually are, because we're very flawed human beings in general. And just going through that journey prior to this is like, it was a good primer, I guess, to the gradient boost, because now I feel like I'm ready to address my major flaws, to work on my strengths, and it's been exciting. Like yeah, like I feel like, for example, just a couple of months ago, I didn't think I have the confidence to explain my ideas to someone else, like in a way that made sense. I always doubted like that if I say something, does anyone actually get what I'm saying? Because I speak too fast sometimes. And this imposter syndrome in general, like I didn't really believe in myself that much. And unfortunately, like the world values confidence. Like it values you to believe in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself and you don't speak with conviction, if you don't have the conviction in what you're doing, people will see like that lack of confidence as a weakness, and it's going to create this self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't believe in yourself, people don't believe in you, and you're like, oh, okay, then I'm not really as smart as everyone else. And you're like just like what do you cower away in your little shell. And I guess like it's got to a point where I feel like, you know what, if like being myself means like failing in public and being embarrassed, so be it. Just pursue a mission you believe in and go for it. And then beyond that, it's also seeing the value of like online learning from a personal perspective. I've seen the skills that I've learned as an adult, because learning as an adult is very difficult. It's like at some point the mind isn't wired to take in new information the same way as a kid is, for example. It requires a lot more focus. So going through that, through online learning, through mentorship, through self-learning, it's helped me see the impact that online learning could have on our continent, in our home. And I think that one thing that people tend to overlook about Africa in general is that with a lot of young people, it's a very like youthful continent. And because we understand the hardships of reality, we've like lived through a lot of crazy stuff. Like, for example, in my home, like we've lived through like 1 billion% inflation, some ridiculous amount like that. We've seen the hardships of the world. We're very, 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 very practical. And I think that practicality and that drive we have and that youthful energy we have is a very valuable and underutilized tool. We can create a lot of amazing talent, a lot of amazing tech talent in Africa, I believe. So seeing like how online learning seems to be helping our learners, seeing the feedback we're getting from our learners, with the conversations we're having every single week, it's another driver, another thing that like just really, really drives me just going forward.
Nice.
That was beautiful.
I agree, right?
Yeah.
My question is to both of you, right? In this journey of being entrepreneurs, what's this one skill that you carry with you, right? It could be since you started or along the way you acquired the one skill. It could be a soft skill or a technical skill, but that's something that you carry with you and you see it works up to date.
Yeah, I'll go. I guess it's nothing really concrete, but it's do your research. I think that I can speak with confidence, but I can also speak with confidence and in my mind be freaking out like, what am I going to say next? What am I going to say next? And I kind of realized, it doesn't make sense and it doesn't feel good to ride on that like wavelength. It doesn't hurt to, say, I don't know. it doesn't hurt to spend 5 minutes, in the day, like learn something new. Let me spend time here and there. If I'm normally on my phone, if I'm playing a game, now instead I'm reading up on the data science field. If I, normally would have been while I'm cooking, I might be listening to a podcast or listening to something that can advance me. I think I've had trouble in the past admitting what I don't know, and I've kind of just like shrunken away from it instead of standing up to it and learning. And I'm already seeing the effects of that. The more that I'm learning about certain spaces, the more I'm seeing gaps that we can move into, the more I'm seeing ways that we can improve. And I'm proud of myself for stepping up to that, because it was very hard for me from a personal level to confront that fault within me. So that's one thing, in any business, you can't just sit in your comfortable space. You got to get out there. You got to challenge yourself.
I think for me, it's like I've been taught. I live in my head for quite a long time, just as a child in general, and that actually helped me a lot because I can see myself. I know myself really well, I'd argue. Like I don't know myself like 100%. Obviously, no one can. It's always a journey, but I can see my flaws and how people interpret those flaws. For example, I know that I'm not like an inherently good communicator. Like I can write my ideas out in a way that makes sense. That's very cogent because I've developed that over time and I have confidence in that skill set. But when it comes to verbally communicating like my thoughts and my ideas, like on the spot especially, like I have things in my head, but I don't express them well. And that's always held me back from actually like practicing communicating verbally. Because of that, I always like had this this negative attachment to communicating things it verbally, especially. So I didn't practice that skill a lot. And I think that knowing myself part and seeing that weakness and then having the desire to actually improve myself, that's I think the most important skill that I have. I don't think I'm necessarily a smart person per se. I don't really care, but that's not really important. But if you're willing to work on yourself and see yourself for who you are, that's very, very important. And that can help you grow and continue growing. It doesn't matter where you start. You're going to continue improving and improving and improving and improving. That's the skill I think that's most important to me, I think.
I was laughing earlier because I can totally relate with what you just said, right? So, and just to touch a bit on imposter syndrome, I feel like everyone feels it. I don't know. I stand corrected. But while I was going through my boot camp, right, I realized I was comparing myself to my peers, and some of them had been coding for like 3-4 years. I was just starting out my coding journey, and I would feel like, okay, maybe this is not for me, right? But the beauty about having mentors, which is what we do in our program, is my mentor, who's still my mentor to date, Andrew Anampi, Moringa School, he would always remind me that, see, when you were starting, you were at point A. Right now, you are at point F. So you're making progress, right? And what that did for me is it made me realize that if today I'm better than how I was yesterday, then I'm doing something great, right? And then when it comes to my skill, and this also spills over to the skill that I've taken with me since, is learning to learn, right? That's why I was laughing at what you said, Emmanuel. I'm always learning. I don't know when I am not learning. After the software bootcamp, I went to another bootcamp, did entrepreneurship, and then now I'm doing my data science course. I don't know what's next, but yeah, this time around I will try to keep myself like this year. But yes, I totally agree. Continuing learning is it, and it's never hard. It's just unfamiliar until you make it familiar. Right?
And like speaking of mentors, I also have like a mentor I had at Springboard who is like he's been a very like influential like figure in the last, I guess, like it's been 9 months, 12 months, however long it's been. He was always the guy who was like, when I was working on my project, like pushing me to go beyond what I could do, like encouraging me, telling me I could do it. And even like when I told him about this, like this gradient boost idea, like very, very early on, he was like, yeah, go for it, go do it. I'll help you out where I can. And he's still like providing assistance till this day, pretty much. And I think it just ties into the value of mentorship and like how that helps accelerate your learning experience. Having someone who believes in you, who's like willing to hold your hand and like let you fail and encourage you. So it's like it's a relief. Because everyone says that, oh, we're an environment that allows you to fail, but that's not how the world actually works. The world doesn't allow you to fail that much. It's very rare finding an environment that allows you to fail and grow. So having a mentor to do that with you is like, it's an amazing experience, I think. That's what we're trying to do for our learners too. What about I guess your like sorry, where you address that. So I guess like moving on to the vision of the Gradient Boost going forward, like what is your perspective of what the Gradient Boost will look like going forward? What's our broader vision? Do you want to start with Vivian?
Okay. So, yeah, this will definitely evolve. But how I see it right now is as a program, I see our vision being just bringing out the best data scientists across the continent. And these are not just data scientists who go through our program and just earn the title data scientist. No. If anything, I would love anyone going through our program should grasp is always to learn, right? So seeing that we are planning to add more courses to our program, apart from the ones we have right now, I will be very, very happy if the people who go through our program would contribute towards like through feedback as growing our program, number one, and number two, also them engaging and participating and growing as data scientists, because right now there's no way you can earn any tech skill and just say like that's it. You always have to keep learning and keep adding to it. And I guess the last thing, just to be known as the household name that deals with data scientists in Africa. That's what I think is it for me for now. You guys?
Mute. Should I go next, Jasmine, or do you wanna like talk about the vision next?
I'll jump in because I know you're going to make this really big speech and you might start to cry. And then, it's going to be this whole emotional thing. So let me get in there. I definitely like with what Vivian said, mostly about the being a household name. I want our students to be, as soon as someone sees like, oh, you studied at the Gradient Boost, we want you on board. I want companies snapping up our people. I want our students to be out there on all these blogs. I want them to be, household names. And I want our students to not only be showcased for their skills, but for paying for the mentorship. We're already doing that. We're already rolling. We've launched 2 cohorts, one in May, one in July. And we already have some of our May students acting as, mentors to the ones in the July cohort. And I want that community to keep going and rolling into each other. And I want the Gradient Boost network to be a force. I want us to help each other get jobs. I want us to help each other build companies. And I want us to actually even jump up, out of Africa. And in terms of like, there's a lot going on in terms of the world and shifting dynamics in terms of, labor and stuff like that in economies. And I want Gradient Boost students to not only be hired in African companies, but potentially even be hired and, build solutions for other countries, including the West and any other developing nation as well. That's kind of like the world domination plan that I have. But I want our name to be attached to the best data scientists, data analysts, data engineers, but also the best humans who also feel strongly about the mission of paying that forward and helping grow the ecosystem as well.
Cool. So I think there's 2 parts. There's the overarching like vision. Like I see it more as like this is a data science bootcamp, because people think of data science as data scientists as like machine learning engineers. Like that's data science, and that's hyped up in particular. But I see us as a driver of data literacy across the continent, and maybe beyond that at some stage. But what I mean by that is that we see that right now, and as time moves on, companies are becoming more data driven. Interactions are occurring via mobile phones, via online channels. And the data that is coming in from customers, from the market for companies, is increasing on a exponential level, pretty much in across Africa. And the need right now might not be for data scientists, like core data science, like machine learning data science type data scientists, pretty much machine learning engineers. The need is like it's basically what I'm saying is like it's multiple careers that exist in the data field. It's data analysts, it's BI analysts, it's data engineers, it's BI engineers. There's so many careers that exist in that field that are continuing to, the demand is continuing to grow as more data is coming in, as more companies see the need of being data driven. That trend, that data driven companies trend and them hiring more data specialists, I don't see it decelerating anytime soon, particularly with like how COVID is changing the world. I mean, I think that we underestimate what impacts the virus, this pandemic and this lockdown is going to have on just the culture in general moving forward. Like how many industries are going to be more reliant on online, whether it's online working, remote working. Basically, the online ecosystem is growing, to put it simply. And it's a trend that's been accelerated over the last couple of months because of this pandemic, and will continue accelerating just beyond this too. So I see us as being a key driver in creating that data literacy to give the young African, or not even young, because I guess there's always this ageism, like that only young people can learn a new skill, and want to like obviously address that, because with age comes maturity, and maturity is actually like gives you more introspection, and it might help you learn faster. So we don't like want to talk about the youth only specifically. But we want to like drive data literacy and create opportunities that help Africans get jobs that pay well in the data space, the jobs that are robust, that are future oriented. And to tie into what both Vivian and Jasmine mentioned, it goes beyond just acquiring technical skills. It's acquiring soft skills. It's acquiring confidence in yourself. We want to help, like, we want to be the cheerleaders, like in people's learning journey, in people's learning journeys. We want to help build a bit of an internal confidence, the ability to learn. Because once you're confident in your ability to learn, you know that even if like things change in the future, which they will, you can relearn things. At whatever age you are, you can relearn things. And we really want to create that environment for learners. And one thing that we've spoken about, which we should expand on a bit more, is that like the next phase of the Gradient Boost is launching a full year-long data science program. And obviously beyond that is other courses that tie into the whole building data literacy for the entire continent as a whole. And with the full-length program, we want to address a lot of barriers that currently exist across Africa regarding online learning. Because right now, realistically, online learning is a privilege to the middle class and upper middle class. If you don't have like a stable Wi-Fi, stable internet connection, what are you going to do? How are you going to learn online? And that's a reality for most Africans, like to put it bluntly. Even in South Africa, one of the most advanced country in Africa, that's still a barrier for many people. So we want to address those barriers too. We want to be able to, as Jasmine mentioned, partner with co-working spaces to enable learners to work from these spaces going forward. But without really revealing too much, I'm going to move on from that point and then talk about, like, I think Vivian mentioned a thing about engagement, like having engaged learners. Am I expanding on that a bit more?
Engagement with our mentors?
So you mentioned like learners being engaged with their mentors. Like, I guess like from an engagement perspective, what have you been seeing and how's that exciting for you?
Yeah, so we usually have 2 mentor sessions with our students in the program, right? And there's that, the environment is that free, whereby students feel like they can at any time pose the mentor and ask a question, right? So that they don't feel left behind. Just on Thursday, we had a session whereby Zahida, one of our mentors, was running the session, and there was this lovely lady who was asking questions, and she just kept on reminding me of me. And then we had a meeting with her after, right? And one thing that resonates with her right now is the fact that there's that access. She can access mentors and ask questions and don't feel like she's asking any silly questions, right? So with us, any question goes. And we actually encourage questions, because then that's also like feedback to us. And if we don't know, we will find out and we will engage you after. So that's why I love the fact that there's that openness with the program, whereby the students feel they can approach co-founders, that's me and you guys, and also they can approach their mentors during the session or after and ask their questions, seek clarification, and don't feel like they're being left behind. Yeah.
And what about you, Jasmine?
So I really value that, the quality of our mentors. I think that we picked some really great mentors, and I think we have a lot of great ones in the pipeline. And I think they really contribute to the whole making sure our students feel like they can ask the questions. I'm very, very, very happy with the fact that, you know, we set that out, you know, in during their onboarding process. We said, you know, we kept telling them, you know, ask all of the questions, bother the mentors if it means that, you know, you need to make sure that you're feeling like you're in a learning community that makes sense. And I love that our students actually feel empowered to do so, that they believe in us. They're trusting the process that we're laying out for them. And they're actually encouraging each other to do the same, helping each other. And we're encouraging them to keep doing that. That's a really nice thing. It's not easy to cultivate that kind of environment. It can take a long time for some students to open up to that idea that it's okay, you know, like even if you think that everyone else is above you, it's okay to ask questions that might seem, you know, a little bit lower level, or it's okay to ask questions that you're just curious about. You know, it could take a long time to cultivate that. So I'm very proud that we were able to set that out from the beginning, and that our students have actually taken our word for it.
Yeah, I echo that. Like, it was interesting seeing the transition from the first to the second cohort. In the first cohort, the engagement was a little concerning, to be entirely honest. I didn't see a lot of questions coming through from the learners. And at the same time, I could relate to that, understand like how it feels to, you know, to be a little apprehensive about asking questions. I'm the same kind of person, to be honest. I wouldn't ask questions off the bat for a very long time, most likely, until I get very comfortable. It's exciting seeing like the new batch, like just like asking questions, like having discussions. For example, like the one tutorial we had this week was FISO, where there was an internet connectivity issue on his side, and then the learners were discussing the things he was talking about. That was very exciting to see, like people actually discussing what's being talked about right now, and then asking themselves questions, and someone stepping in and answering questions, and then seeing Brain, our teaching assistant, like also contribute to the conversation and like spark more conversation, like between the learners. It's exciting seeing that level of engagement happening now. And it'd be great to emulate that for not only the first cohort, but cohorts coming in the future. I guess like as a last question I have, at least, I'm sure you both have questions of your own. It's like, I think Jasmine mentioned, like she always says that I stop the fun, like I think in conversations. So what's the one personal quirk that each of you sees in another person, like whether it's like Vivian and Jasmine, Vivian and myself, like what do you see from other people? Like a little, like make everyone like put them in the spot, like make fun of them, basically.
We're doing a roast me session.
Pretty much.
We're doing a roast right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
You go.
All right. You know, you go. You seem excited about this.
See, the fact that we're in different time zones, and then whenever we're having a meeting, and then towards the end, Jasmine is just like, "Guys, I'm hungry." All the time. Guys, I need to go eat.
I try to get a snack before, but I just get hungry at that time. I'm sorry. And I can't do meetings when I'm hangry. That's just not good for anyone involved. So I gotta tell you, it's just I gotta eat. Vivian, you remind me of like some of my family members actually. Mm-hmm. Like in your demeanor and I love that you like to laugh. I like that you don't take things too seriously. You know, that's always nice. You know, especially when you're working with a new co-founder, a new person. You never really know their vibe, but you've been open from the start. And I've had fun like talking to you like pretty quick.
Awesome.
That's not
Emmanuel. I have nothing bad to say.
Okay, fair enough.
And Emmanuel, I roast you like on a daily basis, so I don't think it's fair to do this now.
I think it's good to like make ourselves like just to show like who we are, like just be frank and honest. I have my flaws. Like for example, it's a realistic flaw too. Like whenever we start like a conversation, I don't create rapport sometimes. I don't joke around. I don't create that like that comfortable space that necessitates like I guess like the right level of engagement or the right level of conversations. I jump straight into, okay, let's get into it. kind of thing. It's like a flaw that I have, obviously. And yeah, it's interesting, like to see that in action. Like I've seen that happen with, for example, with Brain RTA too. Like when we have our check-in calls, I just hop straight into, okay, what's happening this week? What do we do next week? And even though I say that, hey, you can tell me like if I have flaws, if I'm like doing something wrong, I'm not creating the environment to allow people to do that, because doing that requires you to feel comfortable around someone else. So we should like discuss our flaws, because it kind of has an impact on how things go in general. We should be able to see ourselves from that light and like just grow from the perspective.
I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the questions I had from my end. So I guess I'm gonna give the floor to Jasmine and Vivian to like start asking the questions more.
I think we're good here, actually, because I'm getting not hungry. No. I ate like right before this. No. I think we're good here. I think we're good. This was a great chat.
Yep.
All right.
Awesome. I guess like maybe, sorry, it's the last question. Maybe like it's a good like segue. Is that the word I'm going to use? To talk a bit more about the future of this podcast, because Jasmine will be like leading the podcast efforts and what it ties into, like what our vision is with the podcast, what the next chats would be. Like, why should someone listen to our chats going forward? Is this going to be us like ranting about random things? Is it going to be like, what's the angle?
I mean, maybe sometimes, yeah. No, I mean, overall, so this is one of our co-founder series where, we're hoping to get on these chats that we can share to the public every once in a while, just to share about what our thinking is, what our thoughts are, what has changed, so that you understand the, direction that we're trying to take this company. So whether you're a new student or a potential student, a company looking to partner, we want to be transparent in what our vision is to make sure that you feel confident, joining our team in whatever capacity that may be. And I also want us to, be transparent in terms of who we are as people. I'm not trying to copy what everyone else is doing out here. I want to put out content that people have a genuine interest in. I want people to genuinely get to know us and feel free to reach out to us and ask questions, question us, challenge us, celebrate with us, all of that. I'm trying to build a community here. So other podcasts will probably be a lot more polished. We'll have external guests from around Africa. So, what people who are in data roles, but also people who aren't, who maybe have questions about, the future of data in their company, or we have a data scientist coming in. What do I do? How do I talk to them? Are they humans? Like little things like that, just trying to bring content that's valuable and engaging at the same time. And I hope that we fulfill that.
I think it's important just to add that there's a fourth co-founder who is coming in. We're not like keeping him in the shadows. He's just like still like being on board and still getting to grips with how things are going on with the Gradient Boost. And it'd be great to like once he's gonna be like handling the tech side of things with Vivian. So once like he's up to speed with what's happened so far, what's been built so far, and the bigger picture and all the nitty-gritties that go with it, would be great to like have a conversation where it's all four of us just discussing the future of the Gradient Boost, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess on that note, it's at least for me, it's goodbye, I suppose. Unless
Bye.
like unless like you either if you have anything else to add.
None.
Nope, all good.
Awesome. I guess it's a good time to plug in the Gradient Boost and say that the next code we're going to run is in September. We're going to be already like taking in not application, like signups for the September cohort. We charge $350. That's either payable up front or payable in installments over a 4-month period. And what we do is that once you sign up, you don't have to pay immediately, because we'll get in touch with you. So the form will ask you what the ideal day you want us to get in touch with you is. And the reason behind that is we want to like have a conversation with each of the people who sign up to better understand what their background is, what their pain points are, what they've done to learn like in the past, and to see if the program that we have better aligns with their goals. We don't want to like just make money from you pretty much. We want to like just force you to just join this program. We see if it aligns with your goals, because it's advantageous to us too. If it aligns with your goals, it's like you know, it's helpful for our success too going forward. If like we have learners who are aligned with our vision and what we want to achieve in the beginning, at this stage at least. And it's also a chance to inform you more about the program and to tell you a bit more about the values we want to be, we aspire to uphold as an online school, because that kind of holds us accountable, because we'll make mistakes, obviously, but if you know what our aspirations are, you can question us and you can probe us. You can force us to look at ourselves and like see where we're going wrong and like address the errors as they come in. Sign up at the Gradient Boost. That's the site.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Cheers.